easiest way to explain our company is functional medicine meets fitness coaching. It's a collaboration of doctors as well as nutritionists and trainers. So our process is really, it's a loop, circular because it doesn't end. There's again, I believe there's no finish line in this process. It's a lifetime thing. There's always optimization we can do. But looking at
Cole, welcome to the show.
what's going on, Jason, good to be here, man.
Hey, good to have you here. Look, I think this is a topic that, on this podcast we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, we talk about mindset, and we throw mindset in with health, and
Right.
we don't talk about the fact of one thing that when you and I spoke, you said something amazing to me that I actually brought into my daily of how I look at things is like just like think like an athlete and just train like an athlete, like do what an athlete would do. And you're an entrepreneur, we're playing a sport, we're playing business. One of those things that people don't talk about is how important health is for you to be a good entrepreneur. And I know whenever I prioritize my health, I felt great and business goes up. So if you actually like measure it and put it on a metric,
Yep.
you could probably see that I probably should work out more and do more. But how'd you like get into this space? How'd you realize just how important this was for business owners? Because this is what like kind of your domain. So
Yeah.
how'd this all come and click for you?
Yeah. So little background about me is I have a passion for health for a couple of different reasons. One is I played sports my whole life, played college football, and working out, nutrition was a large part of what I did for 2 decades of playing sports. Uh, and that passion was instilled there. But then another piece to me is I've lost almost every one of my family members from health complications. My mom passed away at birth. Every man in my family's had a heart failure. So it actually lost my dad at a young age from heart attack. His dad, his brother. So it's pretty rampant in our family. And so for me, it was kind of twofold. Like one, I have the passion for the sports side of things that got me into it. But I think the more that I progressed in life and career, that the passion kind of became a bigger thing for me. Like, hey, I don't want that to happen to me. Like, entering adulthood as a man, I'm like, hey, I need to really pay attention to this for myself. And as I dove into that, became kind of a passion that bubbled over. Is like, how do I help other people not do that too? So that's how I really got into the health space in the shortest version of possible. I was a pastor before ever getting into coaching. So I went from football to pastor, and then realized like, hey, there's more I want to talk about. And health kind of just was an easy transition there because I had certifications. So super passionate about helping people in that entrepreneurship, and that collaboration kind of just became a natural byproduct because as I started coaching people, my fastest way to level up was like, how can I just pay to be in rooms with people smarter than me? And how can I learn how to build business? And I very quickly found that when I got in those rooms, they were always smarter than me in every area but health. And I was like, well, I could help you guys. Like, I'm paying to learn how to grow a business from you, but what if I just like helped you with your business through your body? And they were like, okay. And so like there's an immediate like calling card of respect that I realized I had. And also like I was my own case study and I traveled a ton and I spoke a ton. That's really kind of how we built our business. And I was like, man, if I can just teach people what I'm doing in this more niche environment of tons of travel and running a business, and I can craft our language around the stuff that I need to hear, it really kind of became a natural byproduct. I think there's so many coaches out there, especially in the health space, that want to coach entrepreneurs and executives just because they make more money. For me, it was never about like, hey, they have more money. It was more of like, I just understand your problems because I do the same thing. I travel all the time. I'm busy, and I want my body to be a weapon, not just look good. So that's a short version of it.
Every time I've heard you speak in the past, I'm always like, Cole's a really good speaker. And then you have the underlying thing that every single person I've ever thought about that, like about like all these people that I've chatted with, and I'm like, they're really good pastor. Maybe for me to be a good speaker, maybe I should become a pastor. I think
Well,
I gotta go back and restart. I think that will help.
that's it. It's a reps thing though. Like I was never a natural, like I'm a naturally extroverted person and like to talk. But for me, it was just repetition of I had to be in front of people all the time talking, whether it's teams or volunteers, or it's like you just talk so much that it just kind of becomes a, hey, maybe I should not suck so much at this. I should practice a little bit.
But there's that emotion, there's the tonality, there's the
Yeah.
pausing, there's the phrasing of things that's very pastor like about a lot of people. I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, it's like, I'm listening in the car. I'm listening to a lot of these like sermons, and these guys, man, they would be the best salespeople on the planet. Like they should just go into something else. They make billions of dollars just selling.
Well, you got to think about it. it's the same conversation. Like it's an emotional compelling or invitation to make a decision. Obviously, they're pushing people towards, you know, faith or taking an action there through salvation, but or sometimes it's offering like, hey, give your money to the church so we can like, but it's just like they're selling a vision. And I've learned like all of my friends that move from being a full-time pastor into coaching or into business are all just incredible at casting vision and getting people behind it. And I learned it very quickly of like, dude, if I could get people to come volunteer for free to be a part of something, like now that I actually can pay them money, like this is easy. So
Yeah,
just
Cody, Taylor,
uh,
all those guys are yeah. Why do you like I think one of the biggest things for entrepreneurs is their excuse is always the same. I'm busy,
yeah,
right? I got to work. I have no time to do a workout. When am I going to fit an hour workout in? I'm traveling. I'm on an airplane. I'm sitting at a desk all day. Whatever excuse it could be. How do you work with your clients to break them out of that mindset?
100%. Well, it's two sides. One, it is the mindset piece, which I kind of want to explain, but two is there's a lot of what we do on the practical support side to help mitigate a lot of that resistance. Like we order food for them, we coordinate all of their, you know, testing and supplements. Like if they're traveling, we can send Uber Eats to their hotel. Like I try to eliminate as much excuse as possible, but even with that, there's a lot of mental change that has to happen. And some of it's just via conversation and explaining, like, hey, we got to change your mindset around this. Winners don't say, I can't. They say, how can I? And it's shifting
Mhm.
the perspective of how do I make this a problem to solve, not something that I just can't do. So it's a lot of conversations like that. But to me, it just comes down to prioritization. Like you have, you know, this, you have time for whatever you make time for. Like it's not everyone has the same amount of time. So usually it's a shifting that perspective of priority for them of I know you don't feel like you need it right now, and you may not. Like it's not going to affect you today, but we're talking long term here. Like we're wanting you to win the long game and not just, you know, I don't want to just get married. I want to stay married. I don't want to just lose weight once. I want to keep it off. I don't want one big revenue month. Like I want to like it's that concept of winning. And for me to do that, like I've got to be around a long time. I've got to have sustained energy levels. And like I said at the beginning, and you kind of repeated this, was business is a full contact sport. If I'm not training for that, I may not feel it today, but pretty quickly you're going to get hit in the mouth and you're not prepared for it. So it's a lot of these types of conversations where it's, you know, shifting their beliefs, their priorities, but even like you said, the identity of like you're an athlete, so you got to train like it. Like you can't just show up on Sundays and expect to perform in the NFL at the highest level if you don't practice, you don't train. Like you may be a freak athlete, but like you're missing out a lot of potential if you don't. So
Yeah, you read all these stories about Kobe Bryant and
uh,
the 4 a.m. And all this, and you're like, man, and it's like then you start questioning yourself, like, how badly do I want this, right? Like
I thought it was
he
driven. Maybe
wanted
I'm
it,
not
so how
driven.
badly do you want it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
It,
I think too, a lot of it for us is it's some of that in business to where we're showing them like, hey, your body could like right now it's an anchor for you. Like you're bringing your body along with you, and you found success regardless of even though you were tired and out of shape. Like it could be a weapon for you that gives you a lot more performance. Typically, that's a little bit of a motivator, but it's more of shifting into their personal life of like, dude, how much of your kids are good? Like, how much are they
I
going
want
to
to
miss
walk my
out on?
daughter down the aisle.
Yeah, I want to walk my without her on the out, or how much of your marriage is lacking right now because she's getting the rest of you instead of the best of you. You show up after work and you're exhausted, you've got nothing else to give. Like even if it changes nothing for your business, but your wife and kids get more of you because you have energy to be dad when you get home, like is that not worth it? Like so I think showing them the personal side too typically tugs at the heartstrings a little more, but there's a financial ROI as well to say like how much more money could I make if I had 2 more hours of focused energy a day? Like that's a big deal too.
So what are some tactical stuff? We'll get into what the starting line does, but what are some tactical stuff if someone's listening to this in their car and they're like, man, I'm about to go to my office, sit at my desk. What are
Yeah.
some stuff they could just put in their life right now to start the moment? Because it's a momentum thing, right? You start
Yeah.
doing a couple of things and you
Yeah.
do it. I know you and I were in the middle of we're about to start a
Start a
challenge.
challenge.
We're starting about the challenge, so I'm competitive. So I like that. Like I signed us
Yeah.
up, my wife and I, up for a Spartan race because I'm like,
Love it.
man, I don't want to be an idiot and like get hurt there. So now I have to train for it. So
Yeah, you
now my
train.
wife and I train together.
Yeah.
Like she's always been a gym rat and she always wanted me to become a gym rat. So I'm like, here, I'll best of both worlds. We'll sign this up. This will be it. I'll win
Yeah.
a medal in this and take it easy. So I'm very competitive. But what are some stuff that like people could just put into their daily lives right now that will start moving the ball forward?
Yeah. Easy habits for me are always the foundations of meals and movement. Of what is the fuel I'm putting in my body with food? And then am I moving my body on a consistent basis? I'm not talking about getting shredded. I'm not talking, you know, any of that. To me, just if I'm going to feel good and perform good on a daily basis, I have to gas my car up like with quality gasoline, which is good food. And then I have to move consistently because the body, it's Newton's one of his laws, body at rest stays at rest. And we think like if I work out, I'm gonna be more tired, but actually it makes your body produce more energy. And so for me, of just like, how can I on a daily basis prioritize some kind of movements? Could be a walk, could be like getting a treadmill under your standing desk. I have one of those. Could be doing like 5 minutes of push-ups. Like it doesn't matter. Just doing some sort of movement to make sure I'm getting that as a priority, and then just having the focus of what is the nutrition or the fuel I'm putting in my body. We can get super detailed on all that, but I think most people, it's the start that stops them. And they
Mm,
overcomplicate it of like, oh, I gotta get, man, I gotta know exactly what my body needs, and I gotta get all this, like I gotta do keto or I gotta do 75 hard, and like I gotta mentally prepare. And I'm like, no, like don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just start with something. Like build it easy. Like it's like atomic habits. When
yep.
you're gonna go, if you want to go run a marathon, just start by putting your running shoes on. Or
Yep.
you want to get consistent in the gym, just show up there for 5 minutes a day and leave. You don't even have to work out. So it's the same type of thing. If I could build some sort of foundational rock of 5 minutes a day, I move my body, or I don't, I don't eat past 9 o'clock or whatever it is, like an easy step for you. Once you build that foundation, it's a lot easier to go off of that.
I think one of the biggest holdbacks for a lot of people, like you said, there's just so many different options, right? So it used to be this diet or that diet or this fad and that fad. Do I go all vegan? Do I only eat meats? Do I like there's so much information out there. Which supplements do I take?
Yeah.
Now I think there's like when you say the fuel that you put in your body, that can mean so many different things to people. They're like, well, what are you
Well, what
talking
does
about,
that mean?
Cole? Like what fuel? Like
Yeah.
am I like you're just telling me watch what I eat, but
Yeah.
I have every voice in my head telling me that what I'm eating is wrong, no matter how healthy but then someone else
Right.
tells me the food I'm eating is healthy. So how do they like decipher all
Yeah.
this?
Well, I think there's two pieces of that. Like, I think basic foundational just to get started, because the whole paralysis analysis thing can come in of like, I don't know what to do, so I won't do anything. I think most people deep down in their gut, they know I shouldn't eat junk. Like I shouldn't eat a bunch of
Oreos aren't healthy on
Oreos.
any
Taylor's obsessed with the mint
on
Oreos.
anything.
I don't. He's psycho. I don't know why the mint is your jam. Regular double stuff's my go-to, but
Yeah.
like we know that deep down, hey, I probably shouldn't eat sugar, dessert, or drink pop, or eat greasy fast foods. Like I need to eat whole, clean foods of good proteins. I need vegetables. I need good carbs. Like just balanced food, I think is a starting place. Again, people get overcomplicated and it makes them do nothing. They're like, well, I don't know what I need for my body, so I won't do anything. Like, okay, then, but you're still eating pizza and junk every meal. Like, don't get donuts on the way to the to the office. Don't eat pizza for lunch. Like, most people know at least a general sense of not to eat crap. That's the first phase. Like, and most people can't do that consistently. But I think if you're really gonna
This
dial this
pizza is
in,
so good, man.
it's just so good, bro. It's a
So
problem.
good. So
Pizza
good.
and then queso is my other one. I'm not, I'm not
Like
allowed.
pizza, sushi, and French fries, I could live on all day, man. And you're telling me I gotta rid myself of some of this stuff.
Well, there's ways to do it too. I'm not like, you want to balance and consistency over life. I still eat
Yeah.
pizza. Just every couple of weeks I'll throw down. But I think outside of just the foundation of like just don't eat like, as my, Cody Jefferson says, don't eat like an asshole. Like
Yeah.
it's not that complicated. But I think from there, if you really want to know what your body needs outside of just like don't eat junk, I can't ever recommend any specific thing for a person unless they've done testing. Like I can give overarching like, hey, intermittent fasting might be good for you, but I would need to see your blood sugar levels. Or hey, keto might be okay with you. Again, like I don't know. Or
But
anything that's
that goes into a very important part, which is like the supplement part,
uh-huh.
right? I've heard this so many times that people are told take these supplements, but if
Yeah,
you're not taking for a supplement for something you're deficient in, what's the
then
point? You're not doing
you're
anything.
wasting
So
money, or it could be causing
exactly.
adverse effects if you're overdoing it. Like
So
even like
what's your view on supplements?
I think supplements are exactly what the name is. It's supplemental to your nutrition. And so I don't think anyone uh, in a perfect world should need supplements. However, the way our food is set up in, in America and the lack of convenience that it is to cook your own food and grow your own food, it just puts us in this place where we're not going to get enough in our diet. And so for me, it's always nutrition first. And from there, it's like, what do I need to supplement? Like even like protein, like for me to eat 200 grams of protein a day, that's 2 pounds of meat. I can do that most days, but some days like that's a lot of meat to have prepared and get ready. And if I'm on the run, like a protein shake's easier to do that. And so some of it's an efficiency thing too. But I would say for everybody, regardless if it's the food or the supplements, if you don't get testing done, like you're legitimately guessing. And so I think that's my biggest anti against any diet or fad or challenge out there is like it's not actually prescriptive to the person. Like I've seen clients where they've been doing like super low carb, high fat diets and not seeing results. And then when we get their DNA tested, it's like, hey, you're actually fat resistant. You can't be eating a high fat diet. So keto might have sounded like a great idea and you might have gotten quick results because it sheds you water weight really quickly, but it actually was anti to what your body needs. So I say that to say is you like the more you can get testing done on your body, I found so many deficiencies that I had that I'm like, oh, I had no idea, or foods that my body or gut didn't respond well to that you just don't know. And if you just try to eat a keto or carnivore, like you're guessing, and it might be good for you. You could luck into it, but you also could do more damage than good.
So what's your philosophy when it comes to prioritizing your health? Like you see now you have 75 hard, you have a lot of different things that, look, I've done 75
Yeah.
hard
So
and it was after day 75, best day. Like,
yeah.
like I felt great shape, my
Yeah.
energy. I play basketball. So like I
Yeah.
was like, people are like, do you do cardio? I'm like, yeah, I work out every day. It was like great. I felt great. I was the momentum, right? Like I don't want to go to the gym, but when I was going to the gym every day and I had to, it was like, yeah, I go to the gym every day. I'm one of those people now. Day
Yep.
76, I was like, well, I could take a
Me
day
too.
off. Day 77, whatever. I just did 75. Relax. I'll go
Yeah.
day 80 and we'll do this like 3 times a week now instead of every single day.
Yeah.
I think I'm on day like 256 and it's like still nothing. So it worked it worked for what it needed to do. But
Yeah.
my wife, every time I try to do I've done 75 hard twice. I've done all these things. She's like, you're a fad person. Like that's what you are, but nothing you do sticks. Like you become obsessed with something and you do it, and then once it's done, it doesn't maintain. So like, wouldn't it be better to find something that's maintainable?
That's the problem. And it's a gift and a curse for our personality. I'll put us in the same boat. I think most entrepreneurs are pretty driven. Like you set a goal, I can go hard and I can accomplish it. 75 days is not that long. Now, I'm not saying 75 hard isn't very difficult. It's a good mental challenge for sure. There's a lot of logistics to that. Uh, but you set a defined end short-term sprint, like that's prime for us. Sick. I can go all out for 75 days. But the problem is if there's a finish line on this thing and the goal is the
Starting to
time.
get, I'm starting to get the name. I'm starting to get the name now.
Uh-huh.
Keep going, keep going. We'll lead into it.
If you have a defined end, the goal becomes your finish line. And what happens when you're done is we see every diet is, oh, foo, I can celebrate now. I can relax. That's not a win to me because you look at, all the studies that have been done on that is like 96% plus of people go back to the weight they were, if not more. This is why I preach identity so much
It's
is
like winning
instead
the
of
lottery.
just,
Most lottery winners
yeah,
go broke after.
you didn't have the skills, you didn't have the mindset, you didn't have the beliefs, the traits. Like I preach identity so much because to me, that's the thermostat of what I exist at. Like I said this the other day, my labels determine my levels. Like the labels that I put on myself determines the levels of performance that I can have. And so most people, if they don't see themselves as an athlete, like we said earlier, see themselves as a healthy person, that label will define over time their actions and their results. Taylor talked about it at the last fly-in of your environment, shapes your your decisions, and your decisions shape your actions shape your results. But like that mental environment for us too, if we don't believe we're a healthy person, we're never going to long-term sustain that. And so most people just try to do different actions, but they don't actually take on a different identity. And so it never lasts. And so I think for people to actually get change, they have to focus on not just what am I doing, but who am I and what standards do I have? And we actually tell our clients in the first 30 days, I know your goal is to lose 50 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever, erase that for a little bit. We're going to put that back here. And all I need you to care about right now is what is the standards you're holding every day? Like, are you winning each day? And if you can win each day, we'll celebrate the heck out of that day. The finish line is not the win. You doing the daily work is the win. But the cool part about it is that they actually get to the finish line that they had quoted way faster, but it was never an endpoint. It's just a checkpoint for them. And they keep, you can keep the starting line language. It's all in there, but it just becomes a checkpoint. They're like, oh, well, I'm still going because that's who I am now versus, oh, I did it. Now I can celebrate. So identity and standards for me is the thing that most of those challenges are missing. Yeah, of course you can crush it, eat less, and move more, and starve yourself and kill yourself for 30 days and get crazy results. I'm not interested in that. I want a lasting change, and that requires a lot more identity and standard changes.
And I messaged you this privately. Like I took that and brought it to a whole new level. Like part of my like morning that I look at is like I'm an athlete, so I prepare, so I
Yeah.
train, prepare, and act like one. I'm a elite business owner, so I prepare, train, and act like one. I'm a world class husband and father, so I
Mhm.
prepare, train, and act like one. Because
Awesome.
you're right, it's the labels that you put on yourself that will determine. And if you read that, then when it's like, hey, do you want pizza after that? I'm like, I just read that I'm a world
Yeah.
class athlete.
Mhm.
Like, no,
Yeah.
pass.
Well, that's what I love about this concept too, is it brings so much clarity to everything you do. It's like if I truly believe that about myself or I want to be that person, every action I'm taking, like James Clear says in Atomic Habits, is a vote towards or away from that person. And when
Mm.
you see it through that lens of like, I just said I was a healthy person. Now I have this opportunity to eat pizza or eat a, chicken salad or whatever,
Now my
whatever.
my willpower is like
Yeah,
borderline, but like
sure. But
if
whenever
I
you
if
start
you
to
offer
see
me
that,
pizza right after reading that, it will be a no.
uh-huh,
Wait 6.5 hours from reading
right.
that, and it's maybe it will waver.
But when you have that, and for me, it's the same thing. Like if I have queso, or if there's ice cream in the house, like I'm gonna have to keep repeating that over and over and
It's
reminding
engineering the
myself.
environment to your success.
But once you have that identity in place, it shapes everything for you. And so it no longer becomes a do I want pizza or not, is like, do I want to become the healthy person I said I was or not? It just puts more weight to each decision and allows you to determine, like, hey, am I going to vote for this person or not? The cool part about that too is when you do mess up, which typically will happen. Like, of course, I'm not going to never not eat pizza, and I can decide that. You can look back and say, hey, I've actually stacked a lot of votes for the other direction. Even though I ate pizza once, doesn't mean I'm not a healthy person. There's more evidence to the other side. It's almost like this confirmation
And
thing.
that's the problem with 75 hard. It's not forgiving. So like
Either on or off. It's all in or
you're
all out.
all in or all out, and that's not sustainable in any part of your life in any area. You're never all in or all off. You're
No,
all in given moments, but you can't just be constant switch on. That's not sustainable.
no. Well, and we're almost like with 75 hard, you're almost approaching food like an addict. It's like you either drink or you don't. Like, but to me, like you can't do that with food because you have to eat to survive. And so to have that like all in or out mentality, like just puts you in a like very dangerous situation all the
But how
time.
but how much of it is genetic too? Like I could sit there and say I want a body like Mark Wahlberg or like or whatnot, but
Sure.
or like any professional athlete. I want to be like 4% body fat, but some of it has to be genetics, and some of it also you have to realize I'm 42 years old. I'm not 22, so I'm never gonna have that of a 22-year-old, and there are also genetics that come into play. No,
Sure. Genetics definitely play a factor in certain pieces. It'll determine like your what they call insertion points, like how your body is shaped, like where your muscles connect. Like you'll notice, like if you ever seen even like any sort of bodybuilding show, there's certain guys that have like super like almost like baseball looking biceps, where there's other guys that it's like really long and lean. Like
yep.
there's just different shapes of muscles that we can't control. But it also determines your metabolic rate and how fast you burn calories, and like all of that plays into it. But most people's goals, like unless you're a professional athlete or bodybuilder, is not to like be that detailed and specific that would matter. To me, genetics set the environment, but your decisions are really what determine the results. And so I think like, yes, with you being in your 40s, that makes it a little more challenging than in 20s if your hormones aren't where they need to be. And so that maybe there's some work that has to be done there. Deficiencies need to be fixed. Same thing with like, you maybe don't have the same body type as someone else, but it doesn't mean you still can't get like extremely good shape. You can't be
Yeah.
shredded. We've got coaches on our team that are in their 50s that are just 8-pack. And it's like, they're fully natural. I mean, they have hormone replacement because they had really low testosterone levels, but it's not like they're all, doing steroids. They're not massive dudes. They just look incredible because they've prioritized it for decades. So it's a compounding effect of actions that can kind of mitigate those genetic, environments, if that makes
And
sense.
that's what I like about it is that it's not you're taking drastic action. They're little actions that build on top of each other,
Yeah.
compound. So I want you to walk me through what the starting line is, but
Sure.
before that, I want you to tell me like why and we touched on a little bit, but why was this so important? What did you see in entrepreneurship that made you sit there and say this has to be fixed? It's one thing to go to a conference and be like, "Hey, I can help you with your health," but you
Sure.
must have seen something or studies have come in about entrepreneurs. What led you to starting this?
I think it was a combination of conversations, but also personal experience with me. When I first started, so I was leaving full-time ministry at the church. I was getting my master's in business and starting this health coaching company. And I very quickly found myself in the classic entrepreneur place where, oh, I'll get to my health when like once I get the business off the ground. And I was doing health coaching, recording videos of me working out to send to people, and I wouldn't actually do the workout myself. I would record one video and then I'd go back inside and work. And I started gaining a ton of weight, and I was eating terrible. I wasn't getting sleep. And I very quickly realized, like, man, this is actually really like, if you don't focus on this, this becomes very difficult. And so I already had that as a foundation of like, I got to fix this now because I can see it's going to be a problem really quickly. And then as I entered these rooms with a ton of entrepreneurs, I just over and over had the same conversation back from them. It's like, man, I used to be in shape, but then once I got in my business, like I've just put it in the back burner. I get it. It's important. It's just once I get there, then I'll fix it. And it was like over and over that language. And so it hit home with me. I'm like, I get it. I understand how difficult that is. Let me just show you the mental conversation you're gonna have to have with yourself to fix that. And so it almost became a because the reality is the tools that we give them are the same tools that you would have if you're not an entrepreneur. It's like the same process. They're still both human beings, but the mental game is what's different. And I think I had a very quick understanding of the mental game because I had gone through it myself. And I'm like, I can just show you the repositioning mentally or rewiring you have to do to be able to take this serious. You know, even the conversation we had is like, bro, you just got to see yourself as an athlete. This is competition. Like some of those little things that were major changes for me because I did the same thing. I gained a ton of weight and I had to fix it. Really opened the door for me to very quickly just resonate with people because I'm like, bro, I'm you. It's the same thing. I've been through this. Here's how we overcome that. It's not a physical thing. That's easy. I just need to give you a game plan you can execute, but we got to fix this internal piece. And so for me, it was a combination, like I said, of that personal experience that set that environment, but then I started seeing it over and over and over again in conversation. I'm like, I got the tools for this. Let me help you. Which is just, it's a different conversation than a stay-at-home mom or someone that's working a 9 to 5. It's a not, their health is equally valid. Their careers are equally valid, but the way they're wired is just different. So
It's also opportunity, right? Like when my wife's on mat leave,
yeah,
she has more time to do a workout than if I'm at the office and I'm back to back meetings all day. Then
100%.
she could fit in a little bit more. So what's the process? Someone
Yeah,
reaches out to you. Like, what does the starting line offer?
yeah,
Like, what are the offers?
sure. Overarching, I'll explain kind of the whole gambit of what we do, and then we've got some subsets that move some of the testing or whatever that looks like. But overarching, easiest way to explain our company is functional medicine meets fitness coaching. It's a collaboration of doctors as well as nutritionists and trainers. So our process is really it's a loop, circular because it doesn't end. There's like because I believe there's no finish line in this process. It's a lifetime thing. There's always optimization we can do, but looking at it in a linear kind of 3-step process. One is testing, like vital to all the stuff that we do. I don't want to prescribe someone something unless I actually know what their body says. Now, I can get really close, and our team is brilliant, and so they can ask a ton of questions and get feedback, and we get pretty close. But there's so much confidence that comes when it's like, hey, I'm seeing data from your blood work or from your gut health. And so I believe great data leads to great decisions. And so just like marketing decisions, I don't want to determine my ad spend unless I know cost of acquisition or I know the lifetime value of my client, or,
Yep.
if I don't have that data, I'm just guessing and I'm throwing money at a wall. I feel like our bodies are the same way. We just don't think about it like that. It's like, I'm going to go work out 3 hours a day and I'm going to eat this many calories. And I'm like, how do you know? Like you're just guessing, hoping it works. And that's a lot of waste in my opinion. And so testing is huge. We look at a ton of stuff from hormones, nutrient deficiencies, metabolic health, gut health, DNA, food sensitivity. There's a ton of stuff we can do, but the idea is I want to understand their body so that I not only know what they need when it comes to the things that I'll explain next, but I also can fix the issues. Instead of them having an uphill battle, like I'm unhealthy, but I'll starve myself to lose weight. It's like, let's not do that. Let's fix your metabolism so it's actually working properly so you can eat like a normal human and lose weight. And so us understanding that allows us to fix the issues, not just prescribe things. Two, so testing is one. The second is what we call protocol. Essentially take that data. We'll tell people exactly what to do with it. So functional medicine doctor, nutritionist, and trainer essentially write a daily protocol for them of what your workouts look like. Sometimes for some people like me, it's, hey, Cole, you're not allowed to do high intensity cardio. And I'm like, why the heck not? That's my favorite thing in the world. They're like, you're high cortisol. You're adding more stress. We actually need you to walk. and lift weights. And I'm like, and so it's so different to people, but since we actually know what they need, we can tell them like, you don't have to work harder. Let's just do what your body needs. And so workouts, food, supplementation of, hey, Cole, you have a deficiency in vitamin D, vitamin B, and iron. That's what I had. And they're like, this is what you need to take to fix that. And now your energy levels are way better. So we get super deep into really anything preventative and performance. We can also go into peptides and hormone therapy or sleep routines or biohacking like cold plunge. The idea is whatever the person wants to really prioritize, we can, but the foundations, they know what they're eating, they know what their movements, what supplements. So that second piece, take the testing, put a protocol together. And the third is, again, because of the big issue of time, and it's not always a prioritization issue. There literally is different constraints on our lives at times that it's like, well, I'm not going to not show up for my business meetings because I had to work out. Like there's a balance there. Or I'm not going to not see my family. And so there's a line there. And so we do whatever we can to what we call put the protocol on autopilot, essentially acting as their concierge or executive assistant for all logistics. So if we give them a meal plan, we'll either send them prepackaged meal prep, or we'll send them bulk meal prep, or send them groceries, or if they're traveling, send their food ahead via Uber Eats. We book the testing for them. We communicate daily to hold them accountable, but also again handle whatever logistics. So the goal for them is literally just like, I wake up daily, all the resources are already here, so food's already cooked, supplements are ready. I just have to execute, and I get results. So that, again, they can focus their time and efforts on other things, and we take care of everything except for them eating food and moving their body. So great results, way less time involved, and no guessing because we already know what their body needs.
And I'd imagine most people probably go through this because it's a yearly thing. What's the main reason for drop-offs or them not sticking?
Yeah, it's a couple things. One would be
because we're gonna address this with who this isn't for by based off.
Yeah, so drop offs would be like in a perfect world. Honestly, like a lot of clients are like, dude, like this is such an efficient system. Like I'm good now. Like I feel like I've got the like habits down. Can I just pay for the testing moving forward and get my quarterly labs? Like a lot of that happens for us, and like whether it's we do the testing or we're like, hey, you can go get this somewhere else too. Like you've gotten what you need, and some people that they're good with that. Some people it's this is the opposite of the spectrum where there's only so much we can control. It's like, hey, you actually never allowed us to do the identity work. Like you didn't show up for calls when we tried to do one-on-ones with you, didn't consume any of the trainings that we did. Like we gave you the resources, we gave you the plan. You might've executed, maybe didn't, but there's only so much we can do unless someone buys into that.
Is there an accountability component to what you guys do?
100%. There's daily, they have daily accountability and feedback from their coach. Basically, we have a process that they have 4 action items they have to check off daily to win the day. And so we're holding them accountable to those things, as well as there's a scoreboard in the community. You can see where you rank on winning the day. So there's group peer accountability and personal, but some people literally just will MIA and check out. And there's like, you call them, text them, call, and they can't. And so obviously it's a very small percentage, but I think those are really the two ends of the spectrum. It's like, I'm good. I've got this figured out. Like I'm going to keep doing testing, and I'm going to keep, implementing stuff. And, the doctors have given us enough guidance I can keep making optimization, but I really have the foundations down. I'm like, cool, you don't have to keep paying us. Like, we'll just keep ordering the testing for you. Or they're on the other end where they're fully checked out. That's kind of really the two reasons, unless it's a cost thing. And they're like, hey, I think I'm good. But,
and if someone already has a personal trainer, you work in with that.
Yeah. And to me, the benefit there is if someone actually wants like to show up and have that in-person accountability, or they want someone to actually walk them through like body mechanics, which is super valuable. I understand the importance of that. So we either provide workouts for people that they can do on their own, or we coordinate with their personal trainer. We get an idea and we communicate with them weekly of, hey, what's the workouts look like? How do we need to support with nutrition? We'll challenge them a little bit. It's like, hey, we need you to pull back volume a little bit. So we almost become the overarching team for them. And if they already have, like sometimes they already have a functional medicine person, it's like, okay, cool. Like we'll use your testing and your doctor, and then we'll integrate that with what we're doing. Because it's really a real team approach.
This is really cool because I tell my wife, I'm like, the one thing I would hire, the number one hire, and we both agree on this, number one hire would be a personal chef.
Yeah.
That like, my food is done. It's done. It's there. It's eaten. Jason, it's time for you to eat right now. He's tied into a nutritionist. He's tied into everything. Does the grocery shopping too.
Yeah.
So this is a cool concept because it really just like you guys eliminate excuses pretty much.
None. Well, and that the purpose of that for me is I want there to actually be no practical excuses. So when people do fall off or mess up, it's all an identity conversation because that's what our coaches are trained to do. That's what I'm so passionate about is like, it's not like, hey, you need to be more disciplined. Just do this. It's like, okay, tell me about why we didn't eat the food again, even though it was right there. Like, man, I'm just really stressed and I needed this. Like I needed a drink or whatever. It's like, okay, let's talk about why you feel like you need that. And then it becomes this like, how can I coach you personally? And let's redefine that identity and see where those labels are. Because that's what our whole team is super passionate about is like fitness is an excuse to have real conversation.
Yeah. We'll wrap up with this. There's obviously a cost associated to being that detailed and taking over.
Sure.
So I'm going to let you plug yourself in a second, but so we don't flood it with like people who just should not be doing this. They're like, what do you mean? It's more than $100 a month for me to do all this? Like, who is this not for? Like who, like, and, or do you have like different versions of it? Like you have the all out, we have a starter pack, we have all different versions.
I'll explain kind of two parts of the question. For the stuff I just explained with all the testing, it's not for someone who just wants a basic program, who doesn't want to invest in testing, who's not seeing a direct ROI with their body to their business or to their career goals. Like this is what it should be. If you're going to do this, you have to clearly see, I need to perform better. Or if I do perform better, I'll make more money or have a bigger impact. And I can step into the person I was called to be at a different level. Like if that's not where you're at and you're just like, I'd like to be in a little better shape, then it's probably not going to be good for you. Now, the secondary piece of this is we have a secondary or a downsell of what you would call where you remove all the testing in the functional medicine side. That's a good amount cheaper because we actually cover all the costs of the testing when we coach someone. That would be more for someone who's like, I'm still all in on my health. I want to make some changes. I just maybe don't have the investment or capacity to spend $10,000 to $20,000 on testing and coaching, but I still want something that would work for me. Those are kind of our two types of people. But I would say you still have to be willing to spend a significant amount of money because it's not cheap. If you've ever been to an in-person trainer too, like you're spending $800 to $1,000 a month just doing that. So two types of people, but regardless, they have to be in the mindset that I'm ready to invest in my health because I see it as an asset. If it's you just want a basic thing, like I can give you a free PDF that'll give you workouts. Like that's not going to be go do 75 hard. Then like that's your.
I mean, I love how you said invest in yourself to be an asset. Like what idiots listening to this right now is like that's not an asset. No, I'd like to die tomorrow and
what's this all worth?
And just drop dead. Like so, I don't see my family. No, I don't really see my health as an asset. If you don't see your health as an asset, turn the podcast off. Right? Like just let's move on. We just wasted like an hour of your time if you don't see your health as an asset. Sorry for wasting your time. For the people who want to learn more or get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Yeah. So all over social media, if you want to just consume more of who we are and who I am, Cole David Taylor is my socials on all platforms. So my first, middle, last name, Cole David Taylor. If you want to more directly learn about what we do, our website's thestartingline.fit. And then I'd love to, for your listeners, include a free resource too. If someone's like, all right, I get it, but like, where do I start? Like you basic questions of like, what can I do today? And so we have an ebook that we give out. That's here's how to calculate your initial calories. Here's a workout program to follow. Here's some template meal plans. I'd be happy to give those to people.
Awesome.
My hope for them though, is they see that and they're like, great, this is a starting place, but I'm ready to get more serious at some point instead of paying someone to do something basic for you. Like for me, if someone's going to invest in their health, they need to do it the right way and actually get something customized for them and get testing done. If not, don't buy anything, just get a basic program and start there. So either way, I would love to give some of the resources to do both of those.
Oh, amazing. We'll link everything up in the show notes. Cool. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It's been fun.